I'm a little bit flabbergasted at the amount of money that houses are going for in my area. I was talking to an acquaintance of mine, and their children, their grown children in their 30s, want to buy a house, but they just can't afford it. So what can we do? Can any of us really afford to buy a house in this economy? Hi everybody, my name is Sarah. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you don't know me, I'm the owner of FrozenPennies.com. I'm a financial coach, and as a family, we are debt-free. Now, we own our house, and we don't ever plan on selling our house because we bought the house in preparation for aging in place, so we never have to move again. But I have children, and my children are looking to hopefully buy a house someday. How in the world are they going to afford a house in this economy, especially if the prices of housing keeps going up? So I have some ideas today for first-time home buyers or people who have children who were looking to buy a house for the first time. Now the situation is a little bit different if you already own a house and you're planning on selling and rebuying, but I'm thinking here the people that they really want to own a house and they just don't know how they're going to ever afford it. Now, you know, the very first thing that I'm going to talk about is your budget. You have to have a budget. You have to know how much money you've got coming in, how much money you've got going out, and where you're allocating those funds to. Grab this free downloadable printable planner. I'm going to leave a link in the description below. It's not going to cost you a penny. It's going to get you started on the right track. Also, if you know anybody who is on this track of wanting to budget, share this with them. Give them the link. Let them download it too. A budget will allow you to identify those areas where you may be spending too much money. It will also show you all of the math so you can figure out if maybe you don't necessarily have an expense problem, you have an income problem. Maybe you need more money. The budget, the written budget, will help you figure that part out. And next, you may have to increase your income, especially if there are goals like purchasing a house on the horizon. You may need more money. It might not be forever. It might just be for now. It might be the time to go to your boss and say, hey, I'm going to need a raise. It might be the right time to change your career path. Look for side hustles or part-time jobs. I have a video about side hustles right here. I'm going to leave a link below as well. There's also ways that you can do freelance work. You can work under the table, which some people may not agree with. That might be an ethics thing for you, but that's for you to decide. You can also consider selling stuff, whether it be selling things that you make or selling stuff that you are not using around your house. And number 3, if you're looking to purchase a house, you're going to need a credit score. Now, there are ways of hiring a manual underwriter. Yes, they still exist. They're few and far between, but they do still exist. So if you're anti-credit card and you've never had credit cards and you have very little credit in your credit score, then you may have to go that route and hire a manual underwriter. If you do have credit and you're okay with credit cards, then you're going to need to increase that credit score. There are ways to do this. Your debt on credit cards needs to be below 30% of your overall income in order to get a loan. So the best thing to do is to use those credit cards wisely. Pay off those really high debts and use the credit cards, then pay them off every month, every 2 months, every 3 months. Show the credit industry and the banking industry that you're able to use those credit cards and then pay them off responsibly. Ensure your bills are paid on time, even if that means you have to set up an auto pay plan. It's going to help you to build that credit score, in return getting you a better mortgage rate. Next, you're going to have to save more money for a bigger down payment. The more money you can save for a down payment, the lower your monthly mortgage payment is going to be, the more that you can probably afford the house. This is where the side hustle may come into play, the second job, the part-time job on the weekends. You're going to work diligently, super hard, super crazy intense to put as much money into the savings account as you can. When my oldest and fiance, when they were getting married, they paid for a large amount of their wedding on their own. They both worked 2, 3, 4 jobs, I think, at one time in order to save for that wedding, because Kristen wanted a very specific wedding in mind. She had a vision, she had a dream, she knew exactly what she wanted, and they were both willing to work really hard at that. The same goes for buying a house. When you're ready to get that down payment, to collect that down payment and put it into savings and watch your money earn interest in a high yield savings account, for that, you're going to do whatever means that you can in order to stuff that savings full. And consider a dedicated high yield savings account specifically for that goal. Consider government programs. As a first-time buyer, there are things like VA, FHA, and USDA loans that you can get that'll give you a better interest rate. Sometimes they will also give you a lesser down payment that you need, but with the price of housing today, you're going to need all the down payment that you can get. But the lesser interest rate might really help you in the long run. Choose a fixer-upper. Also consider other alternatives to fixer-uppers. This is a whole demographic of houses that you can purchase. You don't necessarily need a brand spanking new high luxury counter floor house. Consider buying a smaller house, a fixer-upper, and then learning these trades. Learn how to put in a new floor, fix your roof, paint your cabinets, replace a toilet. All of those things you can learn right on YouTube. Consider the sweat equity that you would put into your first home. Then consider things like other alternatives. Duplexes, condos, tiny houses. These are all alternatives to the brand spanking new home in the high luxury development. Buying a house that needs some improvements can be a much more affordable option than a turnkey move-in ready home. And also ensure that you have enough savings to do the fixes that you need for that fixer-upper. Consider relocating to more affordable areas. A couple of different stories here. My cousin moved to North Carolina, and my cousin has purchased a couple of duplexes. My aunt and uncle are retired now and relocating to North Carolina because the cost of living in North Carolina is much less expensive than the cost of living in New York. They're selling their house and they're renting from my cousin. As a matter of fact, the other brother, my other cousin, is also moving to North Carolina. Now there's only going to be one boy left in New York State. I wonder how long it's going to take him to move. Consider not only different states, but different cities and even different neighborhoods. Many times the costs of housing in different neighborhoods is much more expensive than the neighborhood next door. Consider the cost of living and also the job market in the neighborhood that you're thinking about moving. And speaking of aunts and uncles, Uncle Frank wants me to remind you that if you like this kind of video, to please subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, and like the video if you like the video. And thank you for being a part of the Frozen Pennies community. Get pre-approved for a mortgage. This will do a couple of things. It will show sellers that you're serious about buying, number one. And number two, it will give you a great idea of how much house you are approved for. This is a little bit different than sometimes than how much house you feel like you can afford. Consider your monthly income and take a week's worth of income. That should be the ballpark figure when you're looking to purchase a house and how much you can afford to pay for the mortgage and your escrow combined in that month. So for example, I'm going to use very simple numbers here. Say you make $1,000 a month. $250 of that is that 25%. That's how much you should base your mortgage payment per month on $250 a month. Now, granted, how many houses are out there for $250 a month? I'm just using those numbers as an example to demonstrate how you know how much you can actually afford. Because what the bank tells you can afford and what you can actually afford may be two totally different things. And it's time to cut all unnecessary expenses. Now, we're still in the mindset of saving for that house. So we're going to go through and trim the fat, cut the budget, and stay home. My friend Jill calls this being Amish, which means they don't go anywhere, they don't do anything, they enjoy where they are right there and right now, and they enjoy each other's company. So they're saving, they're not spending on going out to eat, they're not going to the movies, they're not going out shopping, they're just saving money. They're cutting back the expenses to just the necessities, they're reading more books, they're watching more YouTube, and they're not spending the amount of money that they normally would be spending because you're saving for a house. Don't be able to negotiate with sellers. This might be a little bit difficult right now because the cost of houses is great. If there's a house that's a decent price, there may be a bidding war. So it's really hard to negotiate when you're in a bidding war because you're probably going to see that offers are well above the asking price of the house. If you are lucky enough to find a house where nobody else wants it and you can see the potential in that home, then you can absolutely negotiate with the seller. There may be other things like negotiating closing costs that you can work into the plan too. Next, I would recommend working with a real estate agent. The only reason is it's their job. They're the expert. They know the legal documentation. You're going to have a lawyer. You're going to understand the concept of how to buy a house, especially if it's your first time, with the help of that real estate agent. Now, yes, they're going to take a portion of the asking price, but that is not going to come out of your pocket. It's going to come out of the pocket of the seller. They can really help you navigate the purchasing of a home effectively. They can also provide insights in the best time to buy in specific areas. Invest in home buying education. Watch videos, read books about buying houses, know how the market works, pay attention to what's going on in today's economy so you know that maybe now is not the best time to buy for you. Educating yourself right now will help you make informed choices and avoid costly mistakes. I know right now I have a friend of mine who lives in LA and she's been renting. She's in her mid to late 50s. They've never owned a house, but they choose to live in LA and continue to rent because they really love where they live. The cost of houses is astronomical. I'm talking millions of dollars in the neighborhood that they live. As a matter of fact, they're going to have to move next year because the house that they rent is going up for sale. And it's way out of their budget. They can't afford $3.5 million for this little house. So they're going to continue renting and they're going to find someplace else to live. If you love the area that you live, and if you think that buying a house in that area just isn't going to happen, it's okay to continue to rent. I'm giving you permission right now to continue to rent if that's what you feel that you need to do. If you want to stay where you are and the price of housing is just out of reach for you, then stay where you are and continue to rent. I thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.